people. Que pasa, sapa, say what they do. Now people, this one is called the justice system, and specifically we are speaking about the former Minister of National Security. We are speaking about a person whose name is Peter Bunting. He has been exposed for a decision that he made maybe about a decade ago. So anyways people, this has to do with a case as it pertains to a businessman, and his name is Clarke. And he was slapped away by some soldier. We are speaking about 3 soldiers from the JDF. We are speaking about a person whose name is Greg Tinglin. We are speaking about Odell Buckley. We are speaking about Arnold Henry. So basically what happened is that during the time of the Tivoli incursion, where the Popo was looking for Dodos, we are speaking about the person that was a strongman for Tivoli Gardens, and he was eventually extradited back to the US to face a lot of DRUGS charge. So anyways, back in 2010, the Popo and the JDF, everybody was looking for Dodos. And for some reason, they ended up at this businessman's house. We are speaking about a person whose name is Clarke. And we are speaking about an incident that occurred in a place called Kirkland Close. We are speaking about in St. Andrews. I am speaking about an upscale neighborhood. We are speaking about in Kirkland Heights, I think, if I am correct. So anyways, they went to this premises. We are speaking about a JDF operation, and then basically thought that Dodos was there. I don't know what type of information they have, what type of info, what type of intelligence they had. However, them start blaze up some can on the house, and people, when we talk about some can, we are talking about hundreds of rounds, and we are speaking about them basically leave the people in place in a shambles. We are talking about car, we are talking about house, all kind of holes, rete, lele, blue, blah, bling. And this man was inside the house and he was slapped away. However, there was no Dodos, there was no strongman, there was nobody except for this man that basically was hit multiple of times. So people were speaking about back in 2010. Come 2012, the DPP, we are speaking about Paula Llewellyn, she decided that she is going to charge or prosecute these 3 JDF soldiers. So the DPP formally charged these 3 JDF soldiers. We are speaking about in 2012. We are speaking about this incident occurred on May 27, 2010. And then they were eventually officially charged by the DPP in 2012. And they were given bail, I think. Then forward 2016, the then Minister of National Security, we are speaking about Peter Bunting, he issued or signed a certificate, a good faith certificate, claiming that these soldiers should not be prosecuted in the court of law because they were acting on behalf of the state. We are talking about the government, we are talking about Jamaica. Now people, the only problem is that you cannot act on the behalf of the state or of Jamaica if you are doing it in an unjust way, if you are basically slapping away somebody in an unjust way. So anyways, he signed that certificate back in 2016. So we are speaking about 6 years after the actual incident on May 27, 2010, and we are speaking about 4 years after the DPP laid charges. So when we fast forward to February 2020, the Constitutional Court ruled that the 3 JDF soldiers must be charged in the court and they are to stand trial. We are speaking about for that person, we are speaking about the businessman, we are speaking about Clarke for the slap away in May of 2020.
A majority of the court concludes that 1. In the circumstances of this case, the issuing of the good faith certificates was manifestly unfair and unreasonable, and therefore the good faith certificates are null, void, and invalid. 2. The defendants, this is the first 3 defendants, may not rely upon the good faith certificates at the trial of this matter. That the good faith certificates or any certificate issued on the 22nd of February 2016 by the Minister of National Security outside of the emergency period were issued in circumstances that were manifestly unreasonable and unfair and are therefore null and void and without effect. The Minister's power to issue good faith certificates under the emergency powers regulations do not infringe and are not in conflict with the principle of separation of powers enshrined in the Constitution. 2. The emergency powers regulations do not infringe on the prosecutorial powers of the Director of Public Prosecutions under the Constitution. 3. The criminal proceeding should be restored to the trial list.
So basically, people, they are saying that this trial is to resume ASAP. So in essence, the court ruled that the minister's decision to issue a good faith certificate on the behalf of the 3 JDF soldiers at the time, under the circumstance, it is unconstitutional. They are basically saying that it is unfair, it is unreasonable for the minister to grant such a certificate based upon the fact that the time was so long. We are speaking about 6 years after the actual incident and 4 years after the DPP laid charges. So people, the court is saying that it is null and void again, like I said. So people, in this case, we see that there are 3 sides. We are speaking about a prominent uptown businessman. We are speaking about a person whose name is Clarke. We see that we have the DPP, and we see that we have the prosecution, and also on the other side, we are speaking about the defense team. We are speaking about the Minister of National Security, our former Minister of National Security. We are speaking about Peter Bunting, granting a good faith certificate to these 3 JDF soldiers. So people, we are talking about a case in Jamaica once again, where it seems as if the government, it seems as if the National Security Minister or the Minister of National Security is overstepping his boundary, because he is basically defending some soldiers that did a very unjust deed. We are speaking about slapping away somebody in COLDBLOOD, point blank and period. So people, it only speaks volume to the justice in Jamaica that if the Popo do anything, if the JDF do anything, we are speaking about the person that are supposed to hold them responsible. We are speaking about the top person in Jamaica as it pertains to Popo. We are speaking about the Minister of National Security. We see that they are going above and beyond and basically defending the wrongs of these Popo and these JDF soldiers. People, we see why Jamaica cannot get any better, because the people at the top, they are setting very bad example. So therefore, the persons at the bottom, we are speaking about the common criminal, they are going to feel as if they have a green light, because if them see the people who are supposed to know better are doing wrong, then why wouldn't they do wrong also? People, we see that is a fundamental problem that is wrong with Jamaica as it pertains to crime and violence, point blank and period. So people, the moral of the story is this. We saw that the former Minister of National Security, he overstepped his boundary and he issued a good faith certificate to these JDF soldiers. However, they were not supposed to be issued it, because this is not a wartime circumstance, because this was a circumstance in which 3 soldiers basically invaded somebody's house. We are speaking about their private dwelling, and then basically slap away the person in a COLDBLOOD. So people, there is no justification for that whatsoever. So anyways, after the former Minister of National Security made his decision, the lower court basically threw out the case on that basis, because they claim that these persons were to be given immunity from prosecution. So then basically dash out the case. However, we saw that the DPP office under the deputy DPP, we are speaking about a person whose name is Adley Duncan. He filed an appeal and he said that the good faith certificate is not valid and that the best place for justice is actually in the court. So people, we saw that the Constitutional Court, which is a higher court, basically sided with the DPP and said that the good faith certificate that was granted to these 3 JDF soldiers was null and void. It is unconstitutional, it is unreasonable, it is unfair. So therefore, these 3 soldiers, they are to stand trial. People, it is a good look for the justice system in Jamaica. Now, when the court made its decision in favor of the DPP and the Clarke family, we saw that the lawyer for the Clarke family, we are speaking about a person whose name is Leonard Green. He was elated, he was excited because he is saying that this has been going on for too long and that the family is traumatized. We are speaking about since 2010 and now it is 2020. So people, we are speaking about May 27 would be 10 years. We are speaking about one whole decade since this incident, and the family basically can't go back to their house because people, when the soldiers rolled up on the spot, we are speaking about back in 2010, it looked like a scene from a war zone. We are speaking about hundreds of cans in the wall, in the car, all over the place, in the fence, in the ground, rete, lele, blue, blah, blank. So based on what the lawyer is saying, he is going to file a civil suit against the state because we are speaking about 10 years of trauma. We are speaking about emotional stress. We are speaking about financial burden on this family because basically they slapped away one of the main breadwinners in the family, point blank and period. So after the Constitutional Court made its decision, we saw that the former Minister of National Security, he has responded, and he said that he granted the soldiers good faith certificate back in 2012 based on legal information that he got, and because the decision by the court was split. So basically what Mr. Bounty is claiming or alleging is that it is a grey area, it is not conclusive. So people, let me ask you this question. Do you think that if this was somebody that was from downtown in a ghetto area, in a garrison area, do you think that they would have been getting this sort of justice? Because people, if we remember back in 2010, during the Tivoli incursion, there were at least 72 persons from the garrison that were slapped away, and people, them don't get no justice up to this day, point blank and period. So anyways, people, that is my views on the whole thing as it pertains to that. And like me say, it is just my views and opinion. It is not the gospel. Your views and opinion can be respectfully different from mine. But let me know what you think in the comment section. Bless up.